So we're beginning Module 13, and this is where we're going to be taking the observations that you conducted last week in watching Draco, and you're going to use all of that data and that information to score Draco using the TPBA observational guidelines, age tables, and the observational summary forms in preparation for putting together your parent report. I do want you to be aware that this is not going to be a classic Tony Linder TPBA observation. In a true TPBA, you would each fulfill a role as a member of the team. That could be play facilitator, family facilitator. If you were a speech language pathologist or an occupational therapist, you would be sitting in for that role. For our purposes, however, and because this is an online class and we are not asking you to meet as a group and actually work with the family, we've kind of kept it simple here, and so we've got you all functioning as a teacher observer. Unless you just designate otherwise, if one of you has a particular expertise and you wanted to take on observations in one of these roles because you have experience in that, you are certainly welcome to do so. But again, just for the sake of ease and to facilitate your own instruction, you can all function as a teacher observer. I do also need to just make a note at this point in time that this is not going to be, this is not going to follow the format that Tony Linder typically has. We don't have a teacher interacting with Draco. It's strictly, watching Draco as he moves throughout his day. To compensate for the fact that we don't have that family component happening, I am submitting a packet here that includes family information. So you will have in this link the Child and Family History Questionnaire, the Family Assessment of Child Functioning, the All About Me Questionnaire, and the Daily Routines Rating Form. And so you're going to need to use this information when you begin your collaboration to make sure that you are looking holistically at what Draco can do, knows and can do. Before we get started, though, or kind of move down into this area, I do want to take a minute for you to listen to Tony Linder, who is the creator of the TPBA place-based assessment. She's going to begin this video by talking a little bit about how she structures it. This is going to be very brief just for the sake of time. And then she's going to review each one of the documents that she's developed to kind of give you an idea of what it is that you're supposed to be doing in all of these things. So let's just go ahead and get started.
We also use the play assessment as a time to practice or try different intervention strategies, as this gives us information for developing better recommendations. So it's not only an assessment, it's also an experiment in intervention. Here you see, actually this is me playing with a couple of children. The little boy on the left is the one who we are assessing, and the little boy on the right has been borrowed from a classroom in this particular center to come in just for a few minutes so we can see their social interactions. During that hour of observation, there are guidelines that we use in the play assessment that help guide our observations. So on this form, you'll see this is from the communication area, and the very first column are those questions that we want to answer. The second column are the strengths. This is a strengths-based assessment, so we want to make sure that we identify what the child can do. And the third column is if we see anything that is of concern. The fourth, we can check off if we think it's an area that we want to look at for next steps. This can be used as a note-taking sheet, or it can be used as a reference tool. Some people take notes on other pieces of paper, but a lot of people like to use this because they can write all over it, check things off, and that kind of thing. Each of the four domains also has comprehensive age tables that start at 1 month and move up to 6 years. So the assessment can actually be used with any child, even older children, who are functioning below 6. And the way we use these is to identify the floor, or where the child passes all or most of the skills, and then move up to the ceiling where the child starts to reach an age level where very few items are being passed. But what we're looking for is the cluster age where the child is primarily falling. The team discussion, this is a process that takes place after the parents are gone, but that team discussion is an informal discussion where team members are basically exchanging their observations, what they saw that someone else might not have noticed. They discuss age levels and make some quick comparisons there, and share any interpretations they have about what they think may be contributing to the child's developmental concerns. The report writing is the last part, and that we don't have a specific format for. That's really dictated by the district or the program, but we've offered several versions, from comprehensive to short.
And of course, we do have a format that we'll be asking you to follow in regards to the report writing. So this is actually an area that will come in next week, but I did want you to look at this next form that she has and that she'll be bringing up for you here in just a minute.
Recommendations, both for home and school, so that this report will be useful to those who get it. There is a summary form available that can help tie some of this together and can also be used for measuring progress. This is a goal attainment scale. This is an optional piece of the play-based assessment. The guidelines and the age tables are not optional, but this piece can be used if desired. And it really just helps us to look at a baseline for what should be the goals for the child, looking at some of that qualitative information.
So I know that you heard Ms. Linder say that, this observation summary form is optional, but for our purposes, we will be using it. Let's look at just a little bit about the total points that you have here. Each set of documents is worth 20 points. So you will have done one TPBA observation guideline for the sensory motor. That's 5, 10, 15, 20. And then if we do that across all of them, we have 20, 40, 60. So once you have that information, again, you're going to load that all onto one form, and you will submit that as a group. To facilitate your groups in that collaboration, I have a couple of suggestions for how this can happen. The most optimal way of doing your group work would be for you the entire team, for all 4 or 5 of you, to come together and score all of your documents using your observation notes. And to be quite honest, this might be the easiest and the fastest way of doing that, because you're going to have a richer pool of information in which to do your work. However, if you need to, it is acceptable for you to divide the work between 2 groups. So 2 of you might work on the sensory, motor, and cognitive domains. You would just pick 2 of these, and then the other, or the remainder of the group, would score the remaining 2 domains that were not chosen. However, once this work has been completed, you will still need to come back together as a group to discuss your results and reach a consensus on the scoring. Excuse me. Do not assign one person to do each domain. Don't one of you say, well, I'll do cognitive if you'll do communication, because it's going to be pretty obvious when I look at that to note that you have not collaborated. Also, I do want to point out that you should be utilizing the guidance in your TPBA books for each of these areas to help you determine what is developmentally appropriate. So this might actually be an area where you come in and maybe one of you comes in and really scours, or 2 of you come in and really scours two of these elements, so that you have an expert in those areas. But again, the more information you have, the richer your report is going to be and the easier your work